This Nets team is an absolute joke. It's led by their captain, their superstar player. No, it's not Kyrie Irving. We all know how idiotic he is. No, it's the other idiot, Kevin Durant. I expected Kevin Durant to speak out over the last couple of weeks, but not about this. For all the stupid things that are going on with this organization, the Steve Nash quitting, Kyrie Irving speaking out about a film that attacks Jews, anti-Semitic views, you would think that he would speak out to support the Jews and Judaism over here in Brooklyn. None of that. Instead, the clown speaks out about the organization and how they prepare for games. Now, he likes to speak, and he's got like 7 Twitter accounts, and the man just doesn't know when to shut up. I respect his game as an NBA player. He is one of the top 5 players in the NBA. Offensively, there are maybe 2 or 3 players as good as he is. But what we have seen with this guy on and off the court is absolutely hilarious. Clown-like. Circus-like. And for him to come out and attack the organization after he told the press, after the fact that he asked the organization to trade him, that me, my agent, and my team spoke, and we believe that we're on the same track on where we're going as an organization moving forward. Now, about a month and a half later, he's coming out and attacking the organization for the preparation for games and their game plan. Now, when he decided to come to the Brooklyn Nets, Steve Nash was already the head coach. He signed off on that. When he came to the organization, Sean Marks was the GM. He signed off on that. And when he came to the organization, Kyrie Irving was there. This team was completely manipulated because he wanted veteran players there with him to take this team to the next level, including James Harden, where they traded away all their youngsters, including their great find in Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Allen, all their talent gone. And by the way, their coach, Kenny Atkinson. This organization has been an absolute joke. Why don't we just reach out to Billy King and ask him what this organization's all about? This organization has been nothing but a complete ruination to the game of basketball. Basketball is a team sport. It always was. It's been around since the 1800s. By the way, it was created by a Jew. I think Kyrie Irving wouldn't like that. Maybe he shouldn't be playing basketball anymore.
No, he probably doesn't know that because he's not smart enough
he thinks the earth
study
is flat.
Jewish history.
Everything that he reads in books are completely right. And his Bible, whatever Bible that is completely different from the regular Bible, the New Testament, the Old Testament. He knows more than both of them.
The flat earth prophecy, why Kyrie Irving is always right and should coach and own the Brooklyn Nets.
And then you think of Kevin Durant, he says the game plan isn't right. They should be finding ways to figure out how to make the game plan better. Why don't we just build the team around Ben Simmons? If you think the game plan's not right around you, let's build it around the guy that's never healthy, or the guy that can't shoot, or the guy that can't hit a free throw.
If Ben Simmons was running a team, they would have to make the three-point line 8 feet back.
Honestly, there's probably 5 guys that if you're not a Net fan, you probably know. Speedy, could you name them?
Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, Joe Harris, and Seth Curry.
Well, Seth Curry's hurt. Harris is the other one, and Patty Mills.
I don't know. Maybe that might be a long shot.
After those guys, you couldn't name the other guys. You go to the Knicks right now, even if you're not a Knicks fan, you can name the bench on the Knicks.
The Knicks bench scoring is top 8 in the league.
That shows you the difference of both teams. You have a star-powered team with 3 players and a bunch of nobodies, and then you have a bunch of good players that could play and a bunch of decent players on the bench. So what does that sell to you? It sells your game planning. There is no way to game plan on a team that has no bench. When you get into foul trouble, how do you game plan? You know what you should do? If Kyrie Irving comes back, whenever he comes back, you should start Kyrie off the bench and have Kevin Durant start the game. So you have 2 offensive players playing at different times. It opens up the offense a completely different way. That should be the game plan. I don't know what's going on with this team. I don't know why Kevin Durant is speaking. I think Kevin Durant should be speaking about other things that are going on with the organization instead of the game planning. This team stinks. They're not going anywhere. I'll be surprised if they do make the playoffs. There's too much going on off the court for any good to come on the court. There's nothing good when we talk about the Brooklyn Nets. You wonder what's going to happen to Kevin Durant? I'll tell you what's going to happen to Kevin Durant. By the trade deadline, he will be traded. You know where he's going? He's going to go to the Phoenix Suns because by then they could trade DeAndre Ayton. They won't have to give up a lot for Kevin Durant. Even though he's a great player, I think DeAndre Ayton may be a first-round draft pick and another player, maybe one of their young guards, and that would be enough to get Kevin Durant to go from the Nets to the Phoenix Suns. I think Kevin Durant would be a great fit because you got Chris Paul there and you got Booker and really good bench. They have a chance to win. And Golden State Warriors don't look good right now. But there are other teams that are taking a lot of steps forward.
I know the Suns have also been trying to move Jay Crowder, too, so maybe he's part of that deal as well.
Yeah, or they move him, maybe a 3-team trade.
Yeah.
I don't believe Kevin Durant will be a Brooklyn Net by the end of the year. And Kyrie Irving, he will be out of the Brooklyn Nets after this year because I can't see the Nets bringing him back unless they want to lose every single fan watching a basketball game because they've lost a ton of fans, season ticket holders for what Kyrie Irving did. It's going to be very, very interesting. As far as the Knicks are concerned, they are receiving trade calls for Derrick Rose and Immanuel Quickley. Right now, the Knicks are a playoff team. I don't think they're going to trade any of these guys until the trade deadline. If the Knicks are still in it, it will be very hard for them to move on from Immanuel Quickley or Derrick Rose. They have a better chance of moving Immanuel Quickley at the trade deadline than Derrick Rose if they're a playoff team. I do believe the Knicks will get into the playoffs this year. And if they do, is that enough to keep Tom Thibodeau? Is that enough to save him from getting fired? The answer will be no. Unless they get out of the first round, Tom Thibodeau will not be the coach of the New York Knicks next year.
Yeah, I think you definitely could see both players getting traded later in the season. I don't think you're going to mess with it right now just because Derrick Rose, I think, has, from a mentorship standpoint, definitely helped Jalen Brunson perform the way he has, too. I'm sure he's been a good guy off the bench to help teach him and really grow his game because Jalen Brunson has definitely grown his game this year from anything we saw with Dallas. Immanuel Quickley, at this point, he's a young player that's been pretty steady. He hasn't really been like the breakout for the first 3 months of his career. He's kind of been leveled out since then, and he's kind of been a good shooter off the bench type. It really hasn't grown into the all-around player. So that kind of value, good to have that kind of player off the bench. I don't think they're going to be in a rush to trade him unless they get blown away with the offer. We've seen Leon Rose be stingy with that kind of thing, so I don't think they're just going to trade him impulsively. Look at the whole Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes in the offseason. Look at the draft.
Don't you think if he can go back now for the whole Donovan Mitchell thing, he makes that trade?
I'm just saying, in terms of the process of Leon Rose, you're not just going to see Immanuel Quickley just be traded impulsively just to have all these other guys play. I don't think you're going to see that kind of thing unless there's a really good offer. And I think you're going to see that more likely in the trade deadline.
Donovan Mitchell is shooting his lights out right now. One of the highest scoring players in the NBA right now, averaging 30.9 points a game, almost 5 rebounds a game, and over 6 assists a game. If you don't think he's an all-star, you don't think he's a top 5 guard in the NBA, I don't know what you're looking at. And he should be a Knick. Maybe Jalen Brunson doesn't transition into the player he is right now, but the Knicks have to wait another 2 or 3 years to get Donovan Mitchell here. And at that time, he's 29 years old. And he's at the tail end of his career. So you're going to bring in a guy that probably is still one of the better players in the league, but you could have had him in the prime of his career. So it sucks. Donovan Mitchell's having a hell of a year. Is the Cleveland Cavaliers as good as we thought they were going to be? No, I don't think they are. And I know it's early in the season. A team that has a lot of good young players, the fact that they're 8-6 in the Eastern Conference, that's not a good record.
Yeah, they're in a losing streak right now, 5 games.
They haven't looked good. And maybe not having their star point guard and Garland there, and now he's coming back and he's just got to get acquainted and get comfortable again. And you had Donovan Mitchell running the point guard position when he was out. And so these guys haven't played together that much. So they had to figure each other out. We expected Boston to be this good. We expected Milwaukee. And a lot of people think Milwaukee is the team to beat throughout the league because of their talent. And when Chris Middleton comes back, watch out. He's not even playing right now and they're 11-3. That's their second best player. And he's going to be back sometime after the All-Star break. You're talking about one of the best shooters in the NBA.
And they proved on their finals run they don't really need to be a number 1 seed in order to do it.
No.
So the 2 years where they were the number 1 seed, they lost in the second
They
round.
need Chris Middleton. If they had Chris Middleton last year against the Celtics, they beat the Celtics.
Yes, easily.
And I think that when he comes back this year, they beat the Celtics. The Greek Freak right now is the MVP of the league. He is the best player in the league. He's been the best player in the league. It was either him or Jokic. You could go back and forth who the best player. Jokic is a beast of a man, but if you don't know the story about Giannis, check out the Disney story. It's a remarkable story. And 3 of his brothers played in the NBA, and all 3 of them won a championship.
One of them still on Milwaukee's roster.
One with the Lakers with LeBron James, and the other 2, Giannis and his other brother, who the Knicks drafted, won a championship with Milwaukee. So it's amazing story about that family and how Giannis really transitioned as a Greek player. And by the way, Greece didn't even want him to play for their national team because he wasn't really Greek, and they didn't want him to play on the international team. Fled into the country, snuck into the country, fought for their Greek visas, and they could never get it. Finally, the 2 brothers started playing basketball, traveled all the way to practice with the international team, and then eventually people saw them, and then the Greek international team didn't want them to play, and they had to finagle things things, and then finally he found an agent that was willing to help him and got him into the NBA draft. And a lot of people said that if he wasn't drafted in the top 16, he would have got lost in the shuffle and had to go back to Greece. And who knows, maybe Giannis isn't Giannis now. It's a crazy story, unbelievable story. You're talking about arguably one of the greatest players of this era, one of the greatest players maybe by the time he's done to ever play the game. That's how crazy and athletic this kid is. And he's still fairly young. He's got another 5 good years the way he plays the game. It's an unbelievable story. We have to get into some hockey. The Islanders this year have been unbelievable. The comeback team in the NHL. You could see the Islanders go down 4-1 in the first period and come back and win a game in the third period. The Islanders have won 4 games this year, 2 or more goals down in the third period. The Islanders have been the comeback team. Even though they lost on Thursday against the Nashville Predators, when they were down 4-1, they came back to 4-3 and then lost 5-4, and they hit 4 posts. They're second in the Metropolitan Division when it comes to goals. Everybody was taking shots at Lou Lamoriello that they didn't find another offensive player to help Barzal out. So far, they don't need any other offensive players. They're getting contributions from everybody, every single line. The fourth line, one of the best lines in all of hockey as far as a fourth line. Martin and Clutterbuck, Casey Cizikas. This is a talented roster, and they're getting contributions even from the defensemen. Dobbs, he's having a Norris Trophy year. Barzal, even though he hasn't scored a goal,
19 assists.
It's crazy. But the Islanders are using him more in the passing and for his skills, his skating skills, and his stick handling skills. He's going to find the net one way or another, but he's one of the best passers in the NHL and can feed anybody. And if they could find a sniper, they could find a guy that could put the puck in the net. Could you imagine what that line could be? Maybe a Patrick Kane. This is a good team. It's great to watch. And the Rangers are not far from them, but could you imagine the Devils are in first place?
The Devils' defense has actually really been insane this year. They allowed the least shot attempts per game. They had to lose a lot of guys because they had so many bad contracts. They brought in Dougie Hamilton, who's hurt last year. He's been
really good this year.
Really good this year. Damon Severson. Mackenzie Blackwood in goal has been very good as well.
Who's hurt right now?
Beating a lot of good teams, and so are the Islanders. I mentioned the comebacks that they've had against a lot of those top teams. They're doing it with a good mixture of everything. Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, Barzal, 19 assists, still doesn't have a goal yet, but still shoot. 47 shots on goal is still a lot.
Brock Nelson leads the Islanders in goals.
Defense has been getting involved offensively, too. Adam Pelech has 8 points, a guy that's normally just known for being a defensive defenseman. Dobson, 12 points already, 5 goals. It's a very good system that they have. Both forwards playing defense and defensemen scoring points. Lane Lambert's actually brought a lot of balance. Barry Trotz is a great coach, but it seemed like they were playing the same style. You're seeing a lot of different ways that the Islanders could play with this new team.
It's fun to watch. And the Rangers, they're at 4th place in the Metropolitan Division. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to figure things out. Not getting enough from Kreider this year. 7 goals, 8 assists. Panarin's having a good year. Zibanejad is having a better year than he did last year in the first half. LaFreniere, who everybody thought was going to take 4 steps forward, has not really started off strong. And Kakko, who played well at the end of the season, so did LaFreniere. They're not playing as well as they did in the second half of the season. Adam Fox started off slow. He's starting to play good hockey, and the Rangers are just trying to figure it out. They're not getting enough contributions as a team defense. If their defensive pairing play better and they're getting enough goaltending from Shesterkin, I still think they're a lot better than they have looked. But Shesterkin started off very, very slow. Last year, he started off very, very fast. This is the best goalie in the NHL from last year. Could he do it back-to-back years? I just don't think he has the same defense, even though the defense was a little weak last year. They're not playing the same way as a team.
There's going to be some natural regression with Shesterkin for the kind of year he had. The league is trying to be like football, more offensive. It's just harder for a goalie to have that kind of year again. Now, the defense has played a little better the last week.
You would think that the defense would be better than it was last year. Their defense is worse this year.
Now, the one thing that is good is they don't have any veterans that are slow holding them back. As a result, guys like Braden Schneider have played better because he's been able to skate more rather than having to recover for other guys that are allowing these breakaway chances. The Rangers have been better at that. I think the puck awareness still has to be a little better from guys like Trouba, Fox, that have been a little down for their standards. And I also think the forwards defensively have to be a little better. Young guys were very good in the postseason. I think there are some guys that have still done well, like Kreider and Trocheck, but it really hasn't been the whole team. In terms of the offense, they're still just trying to find their way with getting the kids in the top 6. Lafreniere played well in the beginning of the season. Kakko, I think, has been very good on the first line.
Not scoring enough.
Got 7 points this year. Lafreniere's got 7 points.
Lafreniere, this is his 3rd year. He should be scoring goals. He should be getting more points. He should be a lot better than he has shown in the first month. Last year, he progressed, and now all of a sudden, he's falling apart. I want to see more from Kakko. I want to see more from Lafreniere. Kakko got the extension. I was very surprised surprised the Rangers gave him the extension. He had a very good playoff. I want to see more from LaFreniere. This guy was the number one pick, and everybody expected him to be a 30 and 40 type of guy. He's not that guy yet, and I want to see more from him.
Those guys will be able to make it work when they have other top wingers that play. Tried him at center. Zibanejad and Panarin, they've been switching around. So maybe when there's a little more stability, those guys will be more in place. Also on the power play, too, they have to be a little better.